I think cancer patients have a different sense of time. A sense of how important every second, every minute can be. A sense of how important it is to be with your family and your loved ones, a chance to say the things that you never had said or done. You don't have that perspective about what really matters until you face a life-threatening illness. I think that must be transformational. And this takes me back to a story that I have a hard time telling without getting emotional. And it's been more than 30 years, and I've taken care of a lot of cancer patients, but this still is something that's deeply emotional for me. But I took care of a woman named Pat, who is a young woman, 42 years old. She had 2 kids, 7 and 9. And she came in with a diagnosis of acute myeloid leukemia, which is still a very difficult disease for us to treat. And she looked particularly bad one night when I was on call, but it didn't look to me like she was going to get through the night. And sometimes I'm wrong about that, but I did think it was important to call her husband on a snowy evening in December and say, Bill, I think you better come down and bring the kids, because I'm not sure she's going to get through the night. They went into the room with the kids, and she sat up and she knew them, big smile on her face. And she said to the kids, come crawl in to bed with me. And they crawled into bed with her, and I can still see this like it was yesterday, even though it was more than 30 years ago. They crawled in under her arms and snuggled in, and she had the most beautiful, angelic smile on her face that I've ever seen. And I asked if they wanted me to leave the room, and Bill said, no, stay, while the kids are here. And then after what seemed like a long time, it was probably only 5 minutes, they got out of the bed and went back outside, and Bill spent some time with her while I was outside of the room. And you could hear these racking sobs coming from him. But then he came out, and I went back in to check on her, and about 20 minutes later, she died. And that's why I do what I do. We can't let this happen. And we have the tools now where we can ensure that it doesn't happen to other people like Pat. And we can do something about that.
Early on, 40 years ago, when Don was first developing transplantation, it was such a struggle.
Everybody else had left the field because it was assumed that it never would work. I mean, the early years were marred by viral infections.
And so it was very hard to take care of patients at the time because you knew that the failure rate was so real and so high.
And there were some months where you had actually a lot of people dying. I do remember Bruce Douglas vividly, simply because he was an exception to the norm then.
I always knew, there was always kind of the story of, oh, Dad was sick when he was 16.
Something that, obviously no person or no kid should ever have to go through.
The notion of watching somebody fight cancer at age 16 it's pretty haunting.
I never thought that at 16 I would be thinking about, wow, I have leukemia.
Back in those days, cancer didn't have any happy endings. And remember, this was 1977. This was early days.
What happened to my body and the reactions I was having to the chemotherapy, and I think you started to lose some hope. It was a long process. And then somebody came in and said, you know, there's this thing called a bone marrow transplant. It's pretty new and cutting edge, and you have to have a good match. It has to be someone within the family, and there's 1 out of 4 chances. My sister Kim, she was the only one that matched, and although it was not a great match, we made the decision to go out and try the transplant.
The patients that respond in exceptional ways are so instrumental in telling us that we have to move our research in that direction.
The science was, you know, we were right on the forefront with it. And Dr. Thomas had a lot of people not thinking that what he was doing was the right thing.
And they would stand up in meetings and tell Don, Reg, and myself that you guys were cowboys, that you guys were not, you know, doing what should be done.
And he kept pushing through it. And it was, thank God he did.
That was a crazy idea. Nobody thought that was going to work. And it worked spectacularly well.
And Bruce's case, where we were able to conduct a transplant successfully, even though we did not have a complete match, that paved the way for us doing mismatched transplants and unrelated donor transplants. Without those singular cases, we may have not gone there.
And based on that understanding, we're now curing cancers that we thought were once completely unapproachable.
We understand more about what causes cancer. We understand more about how to prevent cancer, and we understand more about how to treat cancer. And all of that takes time and money.
I think that every person that goes through cancer treatment has a unique story. And we all have such different experiences.
The way that I found out, it was totally by chance.
I remember being diagnosed on a Friday afternoon and not going back to school the following Monday.
And then when you get that diagnosis, it almost is like, I don't know if I can really process this.
And then I had to have the hard talk with them to say, no, this is serious. You have cancer.
We were shocked. I mean, I was otherwise very healthy and had no other symptoms.
It was tough, man. It was tough. It was, there were times when I said, okay, God, if this is my time to go, I'm ready. But then I would look over to my right and see my young wife who told me, you know, you can do this, you can keep going.
There's a point in every day where I'm reminded that it could come back, and I don't know if I'm going to, you know, live as long as I want to live. And after my second cancer diagnosis, I knew this was not going to be like the first time. And I had this little person, and the stakes were so much higher. And I just, I handed him to my mom because I happened to be at my mom's house at the time. And I just lost it, and I said, I don't want to leave him. And she thought I meant like I don't want to leave him to go get treatment, but I meant I don't want to die and not be there for my tiny boy.
I keep reminding myself we are who we are today because of the things we had gone through and all the things that happened in our life. I cannot imagine my life without my kids. I cannot imagine my life without my family. And I cannot imagine my life now without being a cancer survivor. It's just how it is.
And that's when I feel the sense of urgency. That's when I feel like we need these cures and these treatments now.
You know, Not that many people get second chances, and because of a lot of people working, caring about something, caring about a cure for something, you know, Bruce got a second chance.
With what we know today, we can see that we can do this now. If you want to choose a place in life where you can have an amazing impact, not just at any time in history, but at this time in history. Because what's going to change within the next 10 years is that we're going to have ways to cure cancer.
I mean, I've got my wife, we've been married almost 30 years, and I've got 3 amazing kids.
We're lucky. We're alive and leading our lives because of Fred Hutch. So if you think about it, you know, 40 years ago, Fred Hutch didn't save 1 life, it saved 4. And theoretically, you know, many more to come.